When I was going through my grandmother's old belongings, I found a journal entry that wasn't about her at all but about mine, written years before I was even born, and it revealed the family secret no one dared tell me. I Sarah Michaels in the supply closet at work while my wife Emma was at home, 7 months pregnant with our first child. That's the sentence that destroyed everything I ever loved, but it's not even the worst part of this story. Let me back. 3 weeks ago I was cleaning out my grandmother's house after her funeral. Nana had raised me after my parents died in a car crash when I was 8. She was my everything. Going through her belongings felt like dismantling my entire childhood, one dusty box at a time. It was as wedged behind her bedroom dresser, leather, bound and worn. The first entry was dated March 15, 1987. I was born in 1995. I went cold as I read the first line. Today I saw what my grandson will become, and I wept for the women he will destroy. I should have stopped reading. I should have burned that journal and pretended it never existed. Instead I sat on her bedroom floor and read every single page, watching my unfold like a horror movie I couldn't turn off. He will cheat on his pregnant wife, she wrote in her careful script. A woman at work, someone younger and prettier. He will think it means nothing, just a kiss, just attention when his wife is tired and swollen and focused on the baby growing inside her. My hands were shaking. Emma had been exhausted lately, falling asleep during movies, too nauseous for our usual intimacy. And Sarah with her bright smile and the way she lingered by my desk, asking about weekend plans. I couldn't include my pregnant wife in any more. The journal continued. Will lie to himself first, tell himself his wife doesn't understand him anymore, that she's changed, that he deserves happiness too. That was exactly what I'd been thinking, word for word, but the kiss will not satisfy him, he will want more, and she will give it to him, because she is young and thinks married men are sophisticated. They will meet at the Marriott on 5th Street every Tuesday for 6 weeks. I'd never been to the Marriott on 5th Street, I'd never even heard of it, but as I read those words I could picture it perfectly. The red carpet in the lobby, the elevator that always smelled like vanilla air freshener. Room 237, this was insane. My grandmother couldn't predict the future, but she had written about my kiss with Sarah 3 days before it happened. I kept reading, even though every word felt like a nail in my coffin. His wife will find out on a Thursday. She will be folding baby clothes, preparing for their daughter's arrival, when she discovers the hotel receipts in his jacket pocket. The daughter they planned to name Grace, after me. Emma and I had never discussed names. But Grace, I'd always loved that name. For my grandmother. She will not scream. She will not throw things. She will simply ask him to leave, and her voice will be so quiet, so broken that he will finally understand what he has done. I slammed the journal shut and called Sarah immediately. We can't do this anymore, I said before she could even say hello. Do what? She laughed. We haven't done anything yet. The kiss. Yesterday. In the supply closet. Silence. Then, what kiss? What are talking about? I hung and stared at the journal. According to the date, I'd Sarah yesterday. But Sarah didn't remember it, because it hadn't happened yet. My grandmother had somehow seen my future. And according to her journal, I was about to destroy everything I loved for 6 weeks of hotel with a woman who would eventually leave me for her yoga instructor. I could change this. I could be better. I could have the journal wrong. But even as I thought those words, I found thinking about Sarah's laugh. The way she tucked her hair behind her ear when she was nervous. How different she was from Emma, who spent most evenings in sweatpants, researching cribs and baby monitors. The journal sat open on my lap, turned to a page near the end. He will think he can change his fate. But a man who would cheat on his pregnant wife was never worth saving to begin with. The future I saw is not a prediction, it is a diagnosis. I drove home to Emma, my grandmother's words echoing in my head like a sentence. She was in the nursery painting the walls a soft yellow. How was grandmother's house? She asked, not looking from her careful brushstrokes. Fine, I said, watching her paint our daughter's future bedroom. Our daughter Grace, who would grow visiting me on weekends wondering why daddy lived in a different house. Just fine. I Sarah the next day exactly like my grandmother's journal said I would. It happened during our coffee break. She was complaining about her roommate's boyfriend always being over, and somehow that led to talking about relationships, and somehow that led to her saying, "You're so lucky found someone who really gets point. Emma doesn't get me anymore," I heard say. The words came out automatically like I was reading from a script. Sarah stepped closer. That must be so lonely. And then her lips were on mine, soft and urgent and wrong in every possible way. She tasted like the peppermint gum she always chewed. Emma tasted like the prenatal vitamins she took religiously. Room 237 at the Marriott. Sarah whispered against my mouth. Tuesday at lunch. I nodded even though I'd never told her about the Marriott, even though she couldn't possibly know about room 237. That night Emma showed me the ultrasound photos from her appointment. Our daughter's tiny profile, her perfect little nose. She's beautiful, I said, and I meant it, but all I could think about was Tuesday. The doctor says she's measuring perfectly, strong heartbeat. Emma traced the outline of our baby's head with her finger. She's gonna be such a fighter. Like her mother, I thought. Emma had fought through 3 miscarriages before this pregnancy. She'd endured fertility treatments and hormone shots and disappointment after disappointment. This baby was a miracle. And I was about to throw it all away for Sarah Michaels. Tuesday came like in date. I told Emma I was having lunch with a client. She my cheek and told me she loved me, and I walked out the door carrying that lie like a loaded. Room 237 was exactly like I'd imagined it. Red carpet, vanilla air freshener. Sarah was already there wearing a dress I'd never seen before. I've never done this before, she said, which was probably true. I mean, with a married man, I've never cheated before, I said, which was definitely true. Until that moment. She me again and I let her. I let her undo my tie. I let her push me toward the bed. I let forget about Emma folding tiny onesies at home, about the nursery that smelled like fresh paint, about the woman who'd loved me through everything. Afterward Sarah traced circles on my chest with her fingernail. Wife doesn't have to know, she said. But that wasn't the point, I already knew. And every time I looked in the mirror, I saw my grandmother's words. A man who would cheat on his pregnant wife was never worth saving to begin with. We met every Tuesday for 6 weeks exactly like the journal predicted. Each time felt like stepping deeper into quicksand. Sarah started talking about her future plans, about maybe moving to Portland, about how she'd always wanted to date someone more mature. Or different from guys my age. She said during our 5th meeting. Know what want? What I wanted was to rewind time. To be the man Emma fell in love with. To be worthy of the daughter who was growing stronger inside her every day. But I kept showing to room 37. I kept lying to Emma about client lunches and late meetings. I kept living my grandmother's prediction like it was a destiny I couldn't escape. Emma started asking questions during week 4. Been working so much lately, she said one night, her hand resting on her belly. She was showing now a perfect round bump that made her glow. The Peterson account is really demanding. I lied smoothly. I'd gotten good at lying. Maybe after the baby comes we could take a vacation. Just the three of us, the family I was destroying on Tuesday at a time. That sounds perfect, I said, knowing there would be no vacation, no family trips, no 3 of us. In her journal, my grandmother had written about this conversation too. He will agree to the vacation while planning next week's betrayal. He will hold his wife while she sleeps and feel nothing but the weight of his own selfishness. She was right. I held Emma that night, felt our daughter against my palm, and all I could think about was Sarah's laugh. The way she looked at me like I was someone worth wanting, not someone who left dirty dishes in the sink and forgot to put the toilet seat down. The 6th Tuesday came with an early spring storm. I should have cancelled. I should have stayed home with Emma, who was having trouble sleeping because the baby was pressing against her ribs. Instead, I drove through the rain to meet Sarah one last time. I think I'm falling in love with, she said as I was getting dressed. My turn to vice. Sarah, we talked about this. I'm married. But are not happy. Said so, that doesn't mean, leave her. The words hit me like a physical. After the baby comes, leave her. We could be really good together. I stared at this woman who'd helped me betray everything I claimed to love. She was young and beautiful and probably thought this was romantic. She didn't understand that she was asking me to abandon my pregnant wife, to walk away from my daughter before she was even born. I can't do that, I said. Why not? Don't love her anymore. The terrible thing was I wasn't sure she was wrong. When was the last time I'd felt anything for Emma besides guilt? When was the last time I'd looked at her and seen the woman I married instead of an obstacle to my happiness? I need to think, I said. I drove home through the storm, my grandmother's journal burning in my briefcase like evidence of my planned destruction. Emma was in the kitchen making tea. How was day? She asked. I said the lie so automatic I barely heard say it. She studied my face with those dark eyes that used to see right through me. Once upon a time, Emma could read my moods like weather patterns. But pregnancy had made her tired trusting. She believed my lies because it never occurred to her that I could become someone worth lying to. The baby was really active today, she said, placing my hand on her belly. Feel that? Our daughter kicked against my palm, strong and determined. A fighter, just like Emma said. She's going to be amazing, I whispered. She is, Emma smiled. We're going to be such a good family. Past tense, I thought. We were going to be. According to my grandmother's journal, Emma would find the hotel receipts tomorrow. Thursday, just like she'd written, and our marriage would end in the nursery, surrounded by tiny clothes and broken dreams. I went to bed that night knowing it was the last time I'd sleep next to my wife. The last time I'd wake as Emma's husband. The last time I'd be the man she loved. The storm raged outside our window, and Emma slept beside me, one hand protecting our daughter even in her dreams. Tomorrow everything would end and I had no one to blame but. Emma found the hotel receipts at 20:47 p.m. on Thursday, exactly like my grandmother's journal predicted. I know the exact time because I was staring at my phone when she texted me, come home. Now, those 2 words contained the end of everything. I could feel my marriage dissolving through the phone screen. I found her in the nursery, sitting in the rocking chair we'd bought together 3 months ago. The hotel receipts were changing table like tarot cards spelling out my destruction. 6 receipts, 6 Tuesdays. 6 times I chose Sarah over my pregnant wife. Emma didn't look at me when I walked in. She just stared at the ultrasound picture taped to the wall. Our daughter's profile surrounded by yellow paint and broken promises. The Marriott charges by the hour, she said quietly. Did know that. I wanted to explain, to apologize, to fall on my knees and beg for forgiveness. But my grandmother's journal had been clear about this moment. Words will fail him because there are no words for what he has done. Emma, 6 weeks. Her voice was barely above a whisper. 6 weeks while I was growing, daughter. While I was planning our future. While I was enough to believe loved us. She finally looked at me, and I saw something in her eyes. The woman who'd loved me was disappearing in real time, replaced by someone I didn't recognize. Who is she? It doesn't matter. It matters to me. The first in her composure. I need to know who was worth destroying our family for. Sarah Michaels, from work. Emma nodded like she'd expected this answer. The one said was too young and silly to take seriously. The one said reminded of annoying little sister. I'd said those things. Back when I thought I was better than the kind of man who cheats on his pregnant wife. Emma, please. It's over. It was never. Never what real. Never meant anything. She stood slowly, her hand supporting her back. Then why did do it? Why did risk everything for nothing? Because I'm selfish. Because I'm weak. Because when I looked at lately, all I saw was responsibility and obligation and the end of my freedom. Because Sarah made me feel like the man I was before I became someone's husband. But I couldn't say any of that. Not to the woman carrying my child. I don't know, I said instead. Emma laughed, and it was the most heartbreaking sound I'd ever heard. Don't know. 6 weeks of lying to me, and don't know why. She walked to the dresser and pulled out a tiny pink outfit. Our daughter's coming home outfit. The one Emma had picked out with tears of joy in her eyes. I was gonna tell today, she said, holding the little dress. The baby's a girl. We're having a daughter. My throat closed. Emma. I wanted to surprise. I had this whole plan. I was going to cook favorite dinner and tell about our Grace. Grace. The name I'd always loved. The name my grandmother knew we'd choose. I was gonna ask if wanted to feel her kick again. She's been so active lately, like she knows we're excited to meet her. Emma folded the dress carefully and put it back in the drawer. But already knew because I've been planning to leave us. I never said. Didn't have to say it. I see how look at me now. Like I'm some stranger who invaded. Like this baby is a mistake instead of a miracle. She was right. When had Emma become the enemy in my own story? When had loving her become so exhausting? I don't want to leave, I said, but even as I spoke the words I knew they sounded hollow. Yes do. Emma sat back down in the rocking chair, her hands cradling her belly. Want freedom back. Want to be the man where before met me. Before responsibility. Before love meant sacrifice. That's not true. Isn't it? She looked at me with those dark eyes that used to see the best in everyone. Tell me love me. Right now. Look me in the eye and tell me still love me. I opened my mouth. The words should have been automatic. I'd said them 1,000 times before. But standing there in our daughter's nursery, surrounded by the future I destroyed, I couldn't make lie anymore. The silence stretched between us like a chasm. Get out, Emma said finally. Emma, we can work through this. Get out of my house. Get out of my daughter's nursery, get out of our lives. She's my daughter too. No. Emma's voice turned to steel. A father is someone who protects his family. Someone who makes sacrifices for the people he loves. Or not a father. Or just a man who got someone pregnant. The words hit me like physical blows. But she wasn't finished. Want to know the worst part? It's not that she did. It's that let me keep believing we're the kind of man worth building a with. Let me plan for a future that we're actively destroying. Let me love someone who stopped existing months ago. I tried to speak, but she held her hand. I'm gonna have this baby. I'm gonna raise her to be strong and smart and nothing like. And someday, when she asks about her father, I'm gonna tell her the truth. That we're a coward who ran away when love got difficult. I'm not running away, then stay. Choose us, right now. Choose daughter over whatever fantasy Sarah Michaels is selling. This was my moment. My chance to prove my grandmother's journal wrong. To be the man Emma deserved. To save my family. But even as I stood there I was thinking about Sarah's text from yesterday. About her offer to run away together. About how easy it would be to start over with someone who didn't know all my failures. Emma saw the hesitation in my eyes. Get out, she said again. I left. I walked out of the nursery. Out of our house. Out of my daughter's before she was even born. Just like my grandmother had predicted. 6 months later I'm writing this from a studio apartment that smells like other people's cooking. Sarah left me for her yoga instructor 3 weeks after Emma filed for divorce. Exactly like the journal said she would. Grace was born on October 15th, healthy and perfect and completely uninterested in meeting her father. I see her twice a month now, court-mandated visits that feel like appointments. She looks like Emma but has my stubborn chin. When she cries, Emma comforts her with a confidence that breaks my heart. They're a family of 2, complete without me. My grandmother's journal sits on my coffee table, open to the final entry. He will spend the rest of his wondering what would have happened if he'd been brave enough to choose love over selfishness. But some men are only capable of wanting what they can't have. The moment something becomes his responsibility it loses its appeal. She was right about everything. The kiss, the hotel, the lies. The way it would all fall apart. But she missed one thing. One detail that makes all of this so much worse. I don't miss Emma. I don't miss that we built together. I don't even miss the idea of raising Grace. I miss feeling like a good man. I miss believing I was capable of love instead of just need. I miss the version of that Emma saw when she agreed to marry me. That man died in room 237, and I don't know how to live as whoever's left behind. My grandmother wrote one last line at the very end of her journal. Words I didn't see until tonight. The saddest thing about my grandson's story is not that he destroys the women who love him. It's that he destroys himself in the process, and calls it freedom. She saw everything. The affair, the divorce, the loneliness that follows, the way Grace will flinch away from me during our visits, instinctively knowing I'm not safe to love, the way I'll spend every Tuesday for the rest of my remembering the choice that made me a stranger to my own daughter. Some mistakes don't end when stop making them, they just begin their real work of hollowing out everything thought were, one memory at a time.